So, welcome to our first talk on DevConf in this room. As the chairman here, I should tell you a few things. Please, if you would want to leave the room or come inside, do it as quietly as possible. As well, do not forget to vote and leave a feedback for this session through the DevConf website or through the DevConf mobile app. So, and now our first talk. Our first talk is about shell scripting my way through the OpenStack. After a short introduction to OpenStack, this talk will illustrate how one may get to a reproducible setup for testing by means of shell scripting. This makes no claim to be complete, but rather tries to show the presenter's struggles in a funny and thought-provoking way. Our presenter is Phil Sutter from a Red Hat networking team. Thanks.
So, hello everyone. As has already been said, I'm Phil Sutter. I'm working in the networking team at Red Hat. Usually I do some kernel development and maintaining IP route, NFTables user space packages. This talk was a bit of a surprise to me because I'm not really familiar with the topic, and especially I was surprised that I'm the first speaker for the OpenStack track. But anyway, here I am. And since it's pretty early in the morning, I guess my goal will be to keep everyone awake. For me, that's pretty easy. I'm just talking all the time. The problem is with you guys, so I made something up. I'll be just lying from time to time. That's the deal. And if you notice, then tell me, and tell me afterwards. And there will be a cake, I promise. Okay, so how comes that I'm still talking here, although I have no idea what I'm talking about? A certain manager told me I should look out for possible improvements in Neutron, which is the networking component of OpenStack. And my reaction was pretty easy. Yeah, come on, just set it up, run some benchmarks, identify bottlenecks. How hard can it be? Yeah, let's find out. But I guess I'll start with first things first. What is OpenStack? Here's a nice quote from opensource.com I found. OpenStack is a set of software tools for building and managing cloud computing platforms for public and private clouds. So what does that mean? It runs cloud images, obviously, in a virtualization cluster. And it has support for multi-tenant virtual networking, basically Neutron. And for me, the most important thing is it's open source. What's included? OpenStack comes with a number of components, which are block and object storage. There is identity management. There is an image service for the cloud images, obviously. There is accounting, so you can bill users, tenants in that nomenclature. You have orchestration, so you can set up complex scenarios in one go. There is a nice dashboard, and it even has bare metal management, which means it supports setting up the whole cluster hardware at once. I guess picture is better to show this, how everything of this works together. Here's one, which is pretty obvious, I guess. If you don't think this is clear and easy to understand, look at another one. I didn't even try. So who does something like this? The first release came in 2010. It was developed by Rackspace and Anso Labs. And since 2012, there's the OpenStack Foundation, which is an independent body who tries to protect, empower, and promote the software and the community. Another interesting party is RDO, which is a community project and declares itself as being an OpenStack distribution for RHEL, Fedora, and CentOS. RDO has many meanings. The most useful one is RPM distribution of OpenStack, go to their project site and find out what the others are. It's pretty funny. The top contributors to OpenStack, Newton is the current release, as far as I remember. Looking at lines of code, there is Mirantis as the top company involved, with Red Hat on second place. Yeah, I found also one which has Red Hat at first. So we do the most commits with the least amount of code also. But in any case, as we see, others win. Okay. Still setting it up, despite all what you have already seen. I'm going to show 3 ways to do it. There are more, but yeah, I just limit myself to this. There is the manual installation version. It's not so hard to do. It's all documented. There is docs.redhat.com, docs.openstack.com, which has docs.openstack.org, which has detailed instructions how to install and configure each of those daemons. And the problem with this is you have to repeat this for every host that will be part of the virtualization cluster. Not every component needs to be installed everywhere, but most of them. There is a simpler method using DevStack, which looks pretty easy. I didn't know about this when I did my testing. It's just about creating a user, cloning the repository, create a simple config, and call stacksh, which should set you up and get to running setup. Another alternative, which I used, is the packstack command. In order to use it, you have to install this RPM, which basically creates a YAML repository and install the package and then start it. Where am I? Okay, this is already pretty easy, but sadly there is some post-install patching up required because OpenStack doesn't support network manager, so you have to disable this. You have to configure the external bridge, so virtual instances will get access to the outside world. And the default security policy doesn't allow even SSH or ICMP, so it's advisable to enable this in order to be able to connect to the hosts at all. Okay, I collected a bit of information how to use it. This is far from complete, of course. I simply don't think I have time. And first, the basics. I guess the dashboard is always a good point of reference. It's easy. Its learning curve is Windows-like, so pretty self-explanatory, I guess. For doing more serious work, there are a number of command line tools. Glance, Neutron, Nova, OpenStack config for configuration. And they basically are for a specific purpose. It's not always that clear. But the good thing is there are man pages and help texts available for each of them. Okay, so I have two examples for command line usage. This is how to spawn an image. Basically, it's just the first command, but every instance should have a floating IP, so it can be addressed from the outside world. Otherwise, it will just get a private IP and it's not addressable. Sadly, not everything is as easy as this. Here's how to create the default network and router combination which PackStack installs. So you have to create a net, then a subnet with IP address information. You have to create a router, set its gateway to point to the outside world, and add an interface to it so it will actually route between networks. The good thing is, again about the dashboard, there's a pretty nice graphical illustration of this. Here's an example of two tenant networks which are connected to the outside world via routers, and each tenant network contains an instance. So, the actual topic. I didn't spend much thought in beforehand, so I just got started, and the scripting I did was more or less an intuitive approach of getting things repeatable and act as like $hist file as a memory of what I did, so I could recover or review. The scripts that I created in this process are most importantly this setup OpenStack shell script, which installs OpenStack on two machines, which I got from Beaker. Those two are RHEL 7 machines, and does all the stuff. I have another slide explaining what it does in detail. There are two scripts for tunnel configuration, changing MTU or the tunnel type. There are two ways to get firewalling done in OpenStack. There is the hybrid firewall, which uses IP tables and OVS in combination. And there is a native firewall, a new approach, which has all the firewall rules in OVS implemented. I created a script to enable distributed virtual routing. I have this recreate tenant network, which is helpful because config changes only affect newly created networks. So after every config change, I had to recreate the tenant network anyway. And server list is just a customized list of servers. I have that in detail as well. Then for testing, I created three simple scripts. So what does setup OpenStack do? In order to get me a little bit faster to a new setup, I added at the first point to just uninstall everything that's on the boxes, so I didn't have to reprovision them, which is always time consuming. It subscribes to machines to Red Hat Network. It configures a direct link between the machines, so there's more, which is there to provide more performance. It installs OpenStack, obviously, applies post-install fixes I talked about, adds my SSH public key, and boots up some machines. Recreate tenant network. I showed you what's needed to create a network. This undoes it first and then redoes it again. And a nice goodie is it refreshes SSH host keys because I have to recreate the virtual machines along the path. So serverless SSH is a simple illustration of how to get custom data out of this. Basically, it asks for every host, compute nodes in that terminology, which runs virtual machines, and then shows all the virtual machines on each of it. This fields variable holds the custom information for each VM I want to show. For testing, I used NetPerf, and this is well, it grew a bit. NetPerf test is pretty simple. It just performs NetPerf for UDP, TCP, and different buffer sizes. Tunnel test run then calls NetPerf test with different tunnel configurations. And since this all generates really many numbers, I have plotter sh, which just creates graphs out of it. So here's one example, which is throughput using hybrid firewall for GRE and VXLAN tunnels with normal frames and jumbo frames. In this case, I'm not sure if you can read it, the higher numbers are those of jumbo frames, which clearly win in this situation. With same test with native OVS firewall, looks a bit differently. Performance drops with jumbo frames as soon as fragmentation occurs. So I guess in this case, we have an indication of a fragmentation issue, or at least a bottleneck when it comes to fragmentation. Conclusion: you already made it, and me too. So, what did I learn? A little bit I did. Pitfalls despite pack stack. So I set it up and it still wasn't working. I spent quite some time figuring out why, which is a bit sad. I guess using DevStack might be better in that case. The dashboard was always a good reference, especially when I messed up and had to find out what went wrong. My biggest problem with scripting all this was that output parsing is not as easy as it might seem. And I guess Python would provide some API for that, which I didn't use because I'm lazy. The problem with parsing command line output is that ideally you have output selectors like the column and the field, which says, okay, which value do I want to have and in what form. Sometimes those are not available for, so I have to go back to using tail, AWK, grep and whatnot. The first of the bad examples should already be resolved, and the ugly ones are especially ugly because they are not portable at all. So I just have to, they're specifically tailored to my setup and won't work anywhere else. What's left? Okay, so things that could be improved is having an apply button for changed global configs to apply to existing networks, which might be nice because you change a global config and you would imagine that it affects the whole system and not only a certain part. I would like to see this output selection for all commands, which might simplify my parsing a lot. And I didn't quite understand why the hosting node, the compute node, is left out from the list of instances when you just type nova list. Maybe it's for security purposes, but I don't see how that makes sense. Okay, here are some useful links. The above three are just for documentation, and the lower two are specific to how to use DevStack or PackStack utilities. Okay, that's it from my side. Are there any questions? Yes?
I tried using OpenStack with some configuration management like Puppet runs.
If I tried it? No.
Using OpenStack with configuration management or orchestration.
In fact, PackStack uses Puppet internally to set up the machines, but for me it was just a matter of getting some testing setup running so I can run my benchmarks. The setup I got wasn't nearly productive or anything, so I didn't use anything.
It's possible to set up next server for executing next server, set up next server to IP range or television technology or something else for executing instance.
I didn't use this bare metal provisioning at all. So in my case, I started with 2 running RHEL 7 machines, and PackStack in that case allows you to just specify the IP address of both, and then it will do everything needed. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
I need provision machine PXA, and I have to set up next server for.
What is next server?
It's a current page CP for program instance.
No experience, sorry. But yeah. You could look up OOO, which supports bare metal management. Maybe that would help you. It's also on rdoproject.org, as far as I remember. Okay, what else?
How come it looks to have a fully working stack? I mean, also when you have all the
15 minutes or so. It's, for me, it was like fire it up and go fetch a coffee. Yeah. And then ideally it will run then. Bit louder, please.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to run those scripts on fresh installed machines without anything else done? Is it working out of the box? Or there are some prerequisites for the scripts in order to
No, it's running out of the box. The beaker machines I got were freshly installed with RHEL 7, and that's also why I had to register them with RHN, so they would get updates at all. Yeah? You're welcome.
So one question from my side. So are we using this for just for two-node deployment stack? Are we using these scripts for just deploying two-node stack deployment? So directors, the other method of deploying OpenStack to director from Red Hat, right? That's multi-node deployment. So in stack, are we using it only for two nodes, or we are deploying every component with each and every virtual machine setup? Like Nova, Ultron, Cinder, Swift, and multi-node.
PackStack installs you the whole thing.
So that we can install in one virtual machine as well, right? It's in a single node, we can install all the components. But these scripts are just for two nodes.
You can add as many as you want. It's a matter of configuring PackStack accordingly. I can show
I
you.
get it, that keystone admin parameter, right?
Can you read this? No, you can't. It's better? Good. Is that better? Yeah. Yeah. So those are, it's a bit cut off, sadly, but those are the options I passed to PackStack. And using install hosts, you can just pass 10 or 20 IP addresses and it will set up all of them. The first one will be controller node, and the remaining ones are compute nodes for hosting virtual machines.
As a continuation of the Nicolas question, you did this setup only on RHEL standards, no other like Fedora or CentOS?
I just used RHEL 7. I played around with RDO and Red Hat OpenStack platform, but yeah, each had its own quirks. So
Just to clarify, because it's director and triple O are valid configs and setup options, and backstack is also valid. Like they don't, it's not one or the other. They both can be used. So I think that's what your question was, right? Why?
My question was something like for deploying backstack in multi-node environment. So does these scripts work?
Yes. Yes. But the new method and the new method is through director. And it's being, yeah. So until director was fully matured and backstack was being used, but now that director is out, OSP 10, I think director will be better to move on. This was before OSP 10 was out.
Guys, could you please talk
Thanks.
outside? We don't hear the questions. Sorry.
You want me to repeat?
That's okay.
okay, then thanks a lot.
So thank you, speaker, and we have. So we have 30 minutes till the next talk.
from Pune certification team from Red Hat. So I work on OpenStack certification tool. So we used to have a product called RSCert which runs all the test tests and generates the results based on that. So I was pretty much interested that we have worked something on automating director kind of stuff so that I can use your work to deploy at my end and it's just on Packstack.
I was just using Packstack.
Okay, because I just want to understand that what is the customer need? They use director deployment or the Packstack deployment?
I guess customers would want to use something like OOO
That's director
to
from-
get basically bare metal machines
Bare metal,
running.
yeah.
You plug it in your rack and get it fired up and have it installed. I guess that's the idea behind all this. Unless you have some PXE environment which sets up the machine already and then you can go. But I'm actually pretty far away from customer setups in my case, since I'm concentrating on Neutron only and
So you said at Bruno office, right? You work at Bruno office.
No, I'm working remotely from Germany.
Okay. All right. Okay. Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
So I might get in touch with you with email.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. You saw my... you have it on YouTube. Okay.
Hey, my name is Kamil.
Hi.
I'm interested in your presentation. The thing is that I was using OpenStack for my learning and I was learning to the Red Hat OpenStack exam. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that I'm doing these Packstack things, etc. But that's what you are just show us. Yeah. It was like your main shell scripts using these Packstack things, or was default ones?
Those are my shell scripts.
Your shell, but
So I
this
had to write them all.
But you will be sharing this stuff, or is this like only for showing purposes that we can do this?
I'm not sure if you've seen the code I showed.
No, this is like
In the end, it's not polished.
yeah. The thing is that it's not really hard to do this, yeah.
No, it's not hard.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know what you're doing, then you're pretty quickly at the point where you can repeat this. On the other hand, I guess looking into Python API right from the start, because all those tools are written in Python,
Yeah, I know.
it should be much better.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was just for me because
you want to speed us very.
I hacked
Deployment.
things together and then looked at what did you do and then copy paste into shell script and
And you only feel that some like you are using shell scripts to execute Packstack which using Puppet. So yeah, so it's really
it's crazy.
yeah.
But you see, with OpenStack you quickly get used to stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, see you then. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I am Martin. I'm from Satellite team. We use CI OpenStack instance, and my question, maybe you don't understand me. Do you know what is Satellite?
Yes.
Satellite. We provisioning new machine, and we tested this on Beaker, or we can test it on OpenStack. And I have problem with I need to set the new instance that core of Linux is there. I don't know this DHCP next server is option to set a new instance after boot. Here is FTP
To do netboot.
yes, netboot, yes. It's correct. It's possible to set up for new instance or for IP range or subnet.
Surely. But you know those cloud images you're booting?
Yes, but it can be, yes, it's instance.
Because it's not a generic virtualization environment. OpenStack is tailored to starting cloud images which are pre-installed then. So you have a cloud image for RHEL 7, for CentOS, for Fedora, and they work by, they boot up, and the boot process contains this cloud setup script, which then either asks this object storage for configuration data.
Yes, cloud init scripts and
Yeah, or you can even run it at home by having a a custom ISO image which you attach to the VM when it boots up, so it finds the data and configures itself.
But clear empty machine to it's not possible.
It's not used in OpenStack. I guess I'm not sure if you can do stuff like that with Ref. Maybe.
For me is.
But I think OpenStack is the wrong approach for that.
For me is one method use some image and rebooting or installing with network booting.
Yes.
And now I solve it that I take one REL image and in there I install KVM or something libvirt, and there I can set up next server for
yes,
booting.
sure.
But I don't know. Well,
those machines get their IP address via DHCP as well, as far as I remember. It runs DNS mask. So you might do dirty tricks like instantiate a cloud image, and instead of booting the cloud image, it will use DHCP and then start doing other things.
But connection between instance in private network, what I know, is blocking for DHCP package because
yes.
OpenStack don't want to destroy their infrastructure about.
Definitely. I mean, if I'm one tenant and I have my DHCP server running and you're the other one, then it's not good if you get my IP addresses.
Yes.
So,
and we create some own tool for create instance because we need, for example, create instance, join floating IP and join volume, for example. And these steps are much, and we create some own. I don't know if you know scriptable from base OS. They use 1 minute script. It's called 1 minute.
That 1 minute interface, I have seen this already. I never used it. So
yes, it's.
It should be really quick, I guess.
Yes, it's really quick, but it's only for their requirements. And but we create generally. It's called 5 minutes because we have to create.
Takes 4 minutes longer.
Volume, 100 gigabytes volumes, and it spent much time. And but we use it for these things. It's very fast and quick because the Bash Nova and this tool has a really big problem with people go from version to version. Because if you parse output now before it empty space and then is known, or I don't know, very fast change in this tool. And
yeah, I think those tools are really meant for direct user interface, and if you want to have something a bit more stable, then use Python API.
Yes.
So. But I have no idea how stable it is. I didn't look at it at all. So it might be that it's just a common OpenStack issue of breaking backwards compatibility all the time. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to give us a comment? It's supposed to be the demo. Show the video on the cluster Kubernetes side. Video demo. Yes, we've got a cluster. Yeah. The problem is it's the old one for the new deployment scripts. But it's only 4 minutes long, so it's not that long. So can you, do you know how to do it? Yeah. So basically, yes, we're just going to show you the cluster. We share it with functions. He's doing the service accounts. And then doing So that's the only thing he's doing is the demo. just getting here. This is what it takes.
Good.